welcome back. Thanks for tuning in to Talk Local on Rogers TV. Okay, so far we've eaten some bugs, which was a lot of fun. Bug Feast is going on in Cambridge over March break. We've talked a little bit about Bingamons as well as the region of Waterloo as a whole. Lots of stuff to do over March break if you're staycationing. Now, again, if you're not, maybe the sand and sea is beckoning to you. Want to get away from this weather a little bit. So we're happy to have Corinne Taylor in studio with us, the owner of Bucket List Travel Adventures. So, hi, Corinne. Thank you for coming tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting us. Excited. I actually want to stay and have a March break myself after all that exciting stuff they were talking about.
You want to eat some bugs, don't you?
They looked pretty tasty, I must say. I didn't see any grimaces, and they didn't all run off camera and guzzle down some water, so I think we're okay.
Definitely. So, you know, obviously there's a ton of stuff to do in the region, but let's say you're going away, right? Yep. Sun and sea. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about this segment, about some kind of, I guess, travel tips, travel advice. You're an avid traveler yourself, I understand.
I am a fairly avid traveler, yes. Yeah, it's funny, you know, you always get the typical questions, what should I do, what shouldn't I do? And I always, there's one sort of line I always come back to, and I always say to my travelers, would you do it at home? You know, safety-wise, and just thinking before you do things, and I always sort of, and then they think about it, and they're like, well, yeah, no, you're right, we wouldn't. Like, would you walk down that alley at home? Probably not. So are you going to walk down that alley in a foreign country, you know? Would you eat something you've never seen? Yeah, would you do this? Yeah, exactly. Like, just do that quick, you know, moment to think it over and is this a smart thing to do? You know, would I go by myself somewhere? And I always tell people that too as well, you know, when you're traveling, you know, always have a buddy or travel with somebody else too. Like, don't go somewhere by yourself. You know, it's just so much easier twos, you know, even like my female travelers too, you know, even myself when I go, I'm always like, okay, I need some, you know, we need to go into twos, one to look out for each other, you know. Just a lot of common sense things, you know. Some people forget and rinse the toothbrush underneath the water. I've had that several times, and that's why I always like to tell my travelers, you know, stick your bottle of water beside the water tap, and then you'll always sort of have that visual cue that at least you'll see the bottle of water and think, oh, I can't brush my teeth in the water tap, you know, just little things like that. We find a lot of people, you know, always get some tummy woes when they go away, and it's kind of like, well, when you're at home, you know, do you have, you know, 3 pina coladas during the day and 4, you know, slices of mango and pineapple and swim in the sea and have the salt for 8 hours. So, you know, just moderation so that throughout the week, so that, you know, you're not feeling it by the end of the day, or, you know, you're ill by the end of the week.
Great. What about when it comes to, I mean, carrying your passport and money and jewelry and things like that?
I always tell my clients, you know, leave it at home. If it's valuable, leave it at home. Don't give somebody that temptation. You know, if you've got, you know, your carat engagement ring, or just your engagement rings, or, you know, extra bracelets and that type of thing, it's just that little added attention and, you know, look at me, look what I've got, that just somebody might see that and just think, ooh, you know.
And especially if you're going to a third world country, right, where a lot of people kind of this time of year down south, it's hot.
Caribbean countries, you know, you never know who's there, you know. A lot of the beaches sometimes aren't necessarily private in front of the resorts. There's access for public access. And there are people on the beach, you know, taking a look around, seeing what people have, what people are wearing, you know, what's out and about, the iPods, the playbooks, the iPads, that
when you go for a swim, I mean, what do you do?
You've got it. Right? Yeah, when you go for a swim, you know, either you've got somebody else got to watch it, or take it back to your hotel room, put it in the safe. Another step too, I mean, with really valuable things, is to put it in the hotel safe, because sometimes your local room safes aren't always the safest either. I mean, we've had reports of people with things going missing out of the in-room safe. So there's always a locked safe usually at the front of the hotel that you can report it.
Is that always a guarantee too?
I've had good luck. I mean, it's a little more accountable. There's a few more hands it goes through. There's a few more people writing it down. Usually, you know, you're signing, you're sealing, they're locking it. It's going in the safe in front of you. You know, you're sort of with them when you take it back out again. I mean, I've been at hotels where they've actually taken you into the room, handed you a key. You've opened a box, locked the box, and taken the key, but it's still in that front room. So nobody but yourself has the key. But, you know, if you're going to miss it when it's gone, don't take it. Obviously. And also, I always tell my clients too, it's amazing how many people pack medication that they really need in their suitcases. And you get a phone call and the suitcase has gone missing and the medication's gone missing. So if it's anything that you absolutely need, it needs to go in your checked luggage, just like cameras, you know, valuables, that type of thing, because we can't lock our luggage anymore due to security.
Right.
So there's always the temptation of, you know, your suitcase coming back out and not having your video camera or your iPad or that type of thing in it. So keep that on you as well.
Sure, and it certainly puts a damper on your trip.
It does,
right? 'Cause it happens right at the beginning.
It does, or right at the end. You know,
Yeah.
you're coming home ready to get your suitcase, and you find the video camera of all the videos gone out of the suitcase, and you've got no footage of the family holiday, which is upsetting. You know, you can't go back and redo it all over again. You know. Yeah, so it's too bad.
Yeah, and so valuables, kind of walking in shoes, anything else that comes to your mind? Or, I mean, I'm sure you've dealt with so many different situations.
And your passports too. I mean, there's so many people that take their passport everywhere they go. I always tell you, I always myself carry a money belt. I've always got a money belt around my waist or one around my pocket, and my passport and any of my extra money is always in that money belt. If I'm going out and about somewhere where I don't want to leave it in my room, I have, you know, a few people that have secret little hiding spots throughout the room if they don't want to use the safe or they don't want to put it in their suitcase. They have, you know, little hidden spot. Yeah, a lot of people have that, you know, this little hidden spot under the mattress.
Under the picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's all these little spots. So just, you know, a little degree of caution and just be smart. Think about it.
And talking about passports, I've traveled a lot where they want to hang on to your passport.
Yes, and it's amazing how worried people are about leaving your passport behind. And Cuba is one country where they definitely need your passport. They will keep it.
They will hang on to it.
They will keep it overnight.
Photocopy it?
They photocopy it, or they'll keep it overnight to photocopy it and give it back to you. They're getting better. They're realizing that it's not something that most people want to ante up for a long period of time.
Okay.
You know, we want to actually see you photocopy it and give it back to us because we're not sure what you're doing with it.
Okay.
But they've got a lot of government regulations that in a lot of countries, I've actually been even more exotic countries lately, they all need to have the photocopy of the passport. It's got to go onto the hotel documents, and they actually have to hand it in to the government. So that's why they're asking for it. You know, some people think, oh, are they going to copy my number? Are they going to do this or that? But a lot of the times, it's a government regulation in these countries, and they've got to have that information.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm glad that because that's something that always it gets your back up. I don't know if it's our kind of we're entitled and it's mine and I want to hang on to it, or just I don't trust you, I don't know you.
And in this age of, you know, identity theft and different things like that, I think people are, you know, where are they writing this down, or who's making a double photocopy? Same thing with your credit cards as well. You know, we always mention to our travelers that you need to call ahead of time, the 1-800 number on the back of your credit card, to let them know that you're traveling somewhere, because they are much more diligent with the way they track your credit cards nowadays. And, you know, one swipe in a foreign country and they're pretty much freezing it automatically. So if you're wanting to use your card for excursions or souvenirs or that type of thing, you need to make them aware of it, or you're going to run into the situation of it's not going to work when you're away.
Okay, great notes. We'll continue talking. So interesting so far. Again, we are talking about traveling overseas, so some great tips and advice so far. Karine will stay with us in studio. Just need to take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. Hi, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in this evening. Karine Taylor still in studio with us, the owner of Bucket List Travel Adventures. Karine, let's explain. I mean, Bucket List. We remember the movie. I think it's with Jack Nicholson and
Morgan Freeman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So two gentlemen sick, and they kind of basically write this bucket list of things they want to do. Is that kind of what spurred the idea?
It kind of, it did spur the idea, and it's really funny because when I had been doing some volunteering and some adventure trips for several years, but I still, you know, I always had that bucket list in the back of my head that I would like to start my own.
Sure.
And it was kind of like, well, what's the name going to be, you know? And it's funny because if anybody knows me, they know my bucket list is huge, and there's usually about 4 to 5 things added to my bucket list every week or after every trip that I go on. Yeah. So it just sort of fit. I mean, I was sitting around and we were throwing out a name, and so and then the other thing was we had to do some web domain checking, and because bucket list had sort of always been the focus, and we thought this will work. It's the philosophy of the company. It's sort of what we do with the Kilimanjaro and the Inca Trail and the Everest. It's on most people's bucket lists, and most people say that. So it was just an obvious fit, and then it was a matter of finding a name that would fit really well. So, and then it just stuck, and it's phenomenal the amount of feedback we've had. I was just this is our second year. We had our birthday this weekend.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So we were at the adventure show last year to sort of preview and debut, and we were back again this year, and everybody was just like, oh, we love your name. You know, people weren't sure what we did, but they saw the bucket and the Bucket List Travel Adventures, and they were like, tell us. And everybody was like, tell us about this. You know, and then you'd get the few comments where they were like, I'm too young. Do I, I'm too young for this. Do I look too old? Like, but it's amazing how many people have a list of things that they want to do. And I had one fellow say to me, it should be a life list. But, it just makes you more aware of different things you want to do, different places you want to go. And that's sort of the philosophy of us. I always say it's, off the beaten track and what's on your list. And so that it just was the natural word, and it's amazing from that movie how many people know exactly what you mean, what you're talking about.
Now, right?
They get it, and they're like, oh, where are you going? Oh, this is on my list. And it's amazing what people have on their list, like the diversity.
Some strange ones or some.
I know somebody asked me that on the weekend too. They said, "What's the strangest one you've had yet?" And it's hard to mention. Like, I did have one fellow on the weekend come up to me and say, "I want to mountain bike Kilimanjaro," and we kind of looked at him and said, "No, it's not going to happen." I mean, I've hiked Kilimanjaro, and there's no way, just because of the sheer altitude, he'd be biking too quickly.
Okay.
And it's shale at certain points, so it would be impossible to bike, period. So I kind of said to him, yeah, I don't think you're going to be, like, that's one that you're probably not going to be able to check off the bucket list. I've had a lot of people mentioning the space travel.
Okay.
So a lot of people are really interested in that, and with Richard Branson sort of trying to develop his program and make it much more affordable, because it used to be $1 million.
Sure.
So he's sort of got that coming online in the next 5 years. So that will be doable.
Sure.
And then, we get a lot of Base Camp Everest. I have a couple of my fellow travelers that are following the footsteps of their mother. So they have sort of done the Inca Trail. Their mom did it 20, 30 years ago. Oh. So as sisters, they've gone back, done the Inca Trail. They've done Kilimanjaro, and now they're coming in April on the Base Camp Everest with us, and they're sort of checking off what their mom did, which is really amazing. Yeah. So, you get some stories like that, or you have people that have been there 30 years ago. They want to go back and see what it looks like. So, I've gotten the gamut shark diving.
Okay.
From as close by as somebody wants to, travel around this area. Yeah. I've had London tour. Somebody wants to go see the castle in London. Okay. So it's not, some people, it's not as exotic as you think. You think bucket list, sometimes it's so crazy exotic, safariing in Africa.
But for someone who's never been off the continent, right, going to see Big Ben or seeing the Eiffel Tower is
their bucket
list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I have little things like that too. And it's not necessarily always travel either.
Sure.
So, it's really interesting to hear what people have on their list.
Yeah. Okay. Neat. Another thing too is combining volunteering with vacationing, and there's a term for this now too.
Yes, our term is volunteering.
Okay.
We sort of grew out of it, us wanting to do more for all the countries we went and visited. We have such great relationships with our local suppliers in the countries that we were sort of able to get into every location and find a unique project. And we were finding that more and more people were like, yeah, we want to do that. We want to get, out of the hotel, out of the tourist restaurant, and do that type of thing. So that's exactly how our volunteering progressed. So 2 years ago, we were in Peru, and I actually had a lot of teachers come with me over the summer break, and we painted a school, and we got them a playground. And then last September, we actually went to Africa for 2 weeks and did an orphanage stay. So we volunteered in an orphanage. And then, of course, we rewarded them. Most people, if you're going that far, you don't want to just work for the full time. So we always put a little vacation touring aspect in it at the end as well, so they can see the area that we're at and enjoy the full thing. And I mean, it's great for students. I have so many parents coming up to me saying, I want my kids to do this. I need my teenagers to do this. They need to see what's beyond here.
That's the thing. People are kind of realizing maybe a little bit more that there's so much more than this, than just this. I mean, it humbles you.
It does. I mean, when we went to Africa too, it was just amazing, the experiences. I mean, we were in a school where the children's school looked like some people's basic garden sheds here. It was corrugated cardboard and, some old benches where they'd used some padding, and most of the children, they were fed a meal at lunch, and that was sort of their main meal of the day, then that's what they went to school for. So it really gives you that, wow, we are so lucky, and we need to help out. And I find so many parents saying they need this, they need to get off that iPad, off the iPod, off the video games, and they need to see this. And we have, there's several groups for March break that are heading down to Chile to do some outreach programs.
Great.
There's a few other groups I know that are heading to Peru. So, there's people that are venturing far and wide even for the March break. They may be taking a few days off before and after, so they've got a longer period of time, but we are finding that that's becoming quite a popular March break activity, is to do some volunteering as well for the teens and the high school age children.
Okay, yeah, no, truly something for everything. Just wrapping up, Corrine, so if people want more information, get involved, I mean, travel far and wide, where can they go, what can they do?
They can check out our webpage. It's bltadventure.com. They can give us a call, 519-210-2111, and yeah, just check us out. We are always updating, adding new things, so helping people check off what's on their list.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So interesting.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for joining us this evening. Do stay with us. We have another segment left. We've talked about local travel. We've talked about overseas international travel. And what would a travel show be, though, without a travel horror story? It's funny, though, I promise. I mean, a little bit frightening in times, but we're talking to a good friend of mine after the break about a trip in India that went a little bit wrong. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back right after this. You're watching Talk Local on Rogers TV.